In this module, we're going to work through the Scalar GUI. So all of the main sections and main controls in the software window here, just so you can see the basic functionality of the software and how you can use it to do a number of things, from very simple tasks up to much more complicated ones. And I'm using the VST plugin here simply because when you want to use it to, say, control other instruments in Live here, the VST version is the one to use. So now that's loaded onto a MIDI track, then I can use it just like any other instrument in my DAW to create sounds by playing my keyboard here. Now, one of the cool things about Scalar 2 is you've got tons more sounds here. So it's loaded up with this felt piano preset, which is kind of a slightly muted sounding piano. I could just select a regular one, or one of the many synth presets. You've got really full-on saw sounding presets here, as well as some nice soft kind of pad sounds. And then quite a few orchestral ones and also guitars as well. So if you wanted to, you could just work with Scalar using the actual built-in sounds, just like any other instrument, without actually using it to generate MIDI patterns or control other instruments. So you could actually just work with the instrument as it is, especially if you don't have, for example, a nice string instrument in your DAW. You could use Scalar to create some orchestral textures in your track instead. So that's just one way you might like to work with it. The next to the sound selection option here, you have the different options for kind of putting Scalar in the mode that you want to work with it. And these for instance, might be modes where you choose the key that you want to work in, or you choose a particular chord progression from one of the presets. And once you've selected that, the software then sort of enters into that mode where you can use it to play those chords or play the right notes in the scale. So yeah, we're going to start off with the simplest way, I think, which is, for example, when you want to choose your key based on the project that you're currently working in, and then use that key to either generate a very simple chord or melodic phrase. So I'll just go back to the piano, and let's say we're working in D minor. So to put Scalar in D minor, we go to the scales option here, and then choose D in the note option. And then we can either choose the scale just below that, or you can see below here now we have the scales kind of in order of popularity, and minor is the second one down here, so we just choose that. Once we've chosen it, you can see up the top here some of the notes go blue, and that's telling us the notes in our particular scale. So if I find D here, you can see an octave going from D to D, so I now know that I can play that D scale by playing those notes. So it's quite a simple scale, it's just the white notes. Until I get to B, when it's the B flat. And if I move to a different scale, like the Phrygian, you can see the notes change, so I could just copy that pattern to play that scale. But obviously a much simpler way of doing this, and the way that you're probably always going to want to do, is to lock your keyboard to the notes for you. So you don't need to refer to the keyboard in the software here to know what notes you're playing. So the way you do that, once we're in D minor here, we go up just above the keyboard to the keys lock option. And if we turn that on, and then we choose white keys, what happens now is by playing the notes from C to C, normally a C major scale, we're going to play a D minor scale. If I change it to Phrygian, or D major. So whatever scale you switch to, all you have to do is play those notes C to C on the keyboard, and you'll play in your key. And you can see when I play these notes that it actually shows you the key you're playing on the keyboard in the software here. So when I play the C, you can see I'm playing the D. So it's by far the simplest way to work with Scalar. And of course, if you don't have a MIDI keyboard, then you can equally use your computer keyboard to do the same job, because playing the notes in live here, when I have the keyboard switch on, playing the notes from A to K here, automatically plays the notes from C to C. So it's another way of playing your scale just using your QWERTY keyboard. So it's a very simple way to work with whatever your setup.